Powered by Rev Media in partnership with TSN, Season 6 of the Dregs Hockey Podcast, and it is presented by our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. It is the holiday season. It is a perfect time to try the Canadian Club Classic 18-year-old high proof. Invite your senses to an elevated Canadian whiskey experience with Canadian Club this Christmas. And Ray Ferraro, it is the holiday roster freeze time of year, one of my favorite times of year. So I've got two of them, actually three. One is the holiday roster freeze because nothing can happen, no trades, no demotions, none of that. The day after trade deadline is my next favorite day. So that'll be March 8th. And then July 2nd is a big day for me as well, Ray, because free agent frenzy is behind us. So we're getting to the calendar. And I'm going to enjoy the holiday season.
You know what's going to happen, Dregs? You're going to retire and you're going to hate July 2nd. You're going to go, I miss it. I miss it. For the first year.
I don't think so. No.
For the first year. And then you're going to go, nah, I don't miss it anymore.
You know? In fact, I think I'm going to a flip phone when I retire. Like no texting. I don't want to look at social media on my phone. None of that.
Really?
I want calls from my family and that's it. Maybe a guy like you, a friend like Ray, I'll take the call. But beyond that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd be good. What I do notice when I call you like July 16th, very spotty reception.
Always spotty. The cabbage.
And you like it, but I think you like that.
I do.
I don't even think you try to improve it. You don't even care.
No, I do. Hey, we've got Sheldon Keefe, the head coach of the New Jersey Devils, joining us in this episode. And, I think occasionally Sheldon would show some personality when he was on the bench of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, the passion is there. It's in everyone associated with any NHL team. But there's more of an ease away from the bench and away from the rink around Sheldon now that he's with New Jersey. And maybe that's just a reality check, right? Second NHL head coaching job. And the stress is still real. It's still there. But probably what he learned in Toronto is helping him a lot more as he now makes his way with the Devils.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you're going to take your first NHL job and it's going to be in the most scrutinized and demanding market, both fans and media, then how could anything else not feel like a half a step back, like with people staring at you? Like, just think, they know, the coaches know, the managers know when something bad happens on the ice, immediately the camera's coming to them. Like they watch enough video, they know that that's what's happening. Everything they do is, okay, he said this, what did he mean? You know, like, just think of it. Yeah. And I guess to a smaller level, that happens with us too. But like, this is what you said, but somebody breaks it down to what you meant. Except like how do you defend yourself after a while? You can't. So I think I was surprised that Sheldon went so quickly from one job to the next. But I would also think probably, you're not jumping right away to a rebuild. You're jumping to a really good team.
Yeah. Well, we'll ask him about that decision-making process and, how he made that leap so quickly. Coming up later, Sheldon Keefe, head coach of the New Jersey Devils. Time for headlines brought to you by Tim Hortons. The Tim's NHL Hockey Challenge is back in the Tim Hortons app. Daily, monthly prizes available, including a 2025 Hyundai Tucson. That's the season end grand prize. All you have to do is pick the players that you think are going to score game by game by using the app every game day. It's easy, it's free, and it is fun to play. So as we dive into headlines, why don't we look back at a couple of trades now that we're in the freeze. Justin Barron, 23-year-old right shot defenseman, goes from the Montreal Canadiens to Nashville in exchange for Alexander Carrier, also a right shot D with some experience there. Makes room in Montreal, right, for other young D. I think of Logan Mailloux. I think of David Reinbacher, when he comes back healthy. Maybe a bit more insurance to help out Lane Hudson or Struble or even Arbor Jacki. But most importantly, it's a bit of an insurance policy for Kent Hughes, isn't it? Because we talk about, the media talks about the idea, okay, well, David Savard Why can't he be trade bait? What about Mike Matheson? Those will be valued commodities when it's time or the return is right for Ken Hughes to consider moving one of those guys.
Oh, I think in a lot of cases, one move is not the end. One move might start a chain of events. And, it's funny, like that's from the Montreal side. From the Nashville side, they just signed Carrier to a 3-year extension in the offseason. And, with the way things have gone, these are moves that are probably going to be made. Because there's only certain players that you really have freedom to trade.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to reshape, like in Nashville, if they're trying to change things a little bit, Montreal, I do think this is, they've got a log jam a little bit. And part of that log jam is the two older guys in Savard and Matheson.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, you can't, what a balancing act when you're trying to figure all this out, because you can't have 6 22-year-olds back there either, because you're going to get run over. And so, Kent Hughes is trying to juggle all that. And I thought it was interesting that, a little bit of term on this, a little bit of experience with Carrier and those older guys. It makes you think there's probably enough calls around that he's got a pretty good sense of what he's going to get already for those guys, if he decides to move them.
A couple of episodes ago, we talked about what the New York Rangers were going to continue to do, and Capo Kakko's name was brought up on the podcast, and he's been involved in that speculation at least as early as the offseason, maybe even leading up to the trade deadline last year. So he gets traded to the Seattle Kraken for defenseman Will Borgen and a couple of draft picks, a third and a sixth in 2025. For fans who don't recall, Capo Kako went number 2 in the draft in 2019. Behind Jack Hughes, who obviously went first overall. I believe I like this deal from Seattle's perspective. I do. I think that Kakko was more to give. I don't think that he was comfortable. There should be as much or certainly more opportunity in Seattle. What do you view Capo Kako as? A third-line guy, potential to get into the top 6? What do you see him, and do you see him as, and do you like the fit?
I like the trade from Seattle's perspective for sure, because in New York, there was opportunity in the top 6 for him. He, by his own, not admission, but by his own evaluation, he said, it didn't really work. And maybe he wasn't ready for it. Maybe the fit to the line wasn't right. Maybe he just didn't have at that moment what it took. When I look at Kakko, I think of a big, strong puck protector, little heavy foot wise. Like he's not fast, but I do think he got into a spot in New York that he was never going to be able to break free, and that happens to players. It's really nobody's fault, except you get put in a box and you can't get out of the box. Then you go somewhere else, and you have to remember, they don't look at what you can't do. The team that acquired you is always looking at what you can do. The team that traded you looks at what you can't do. And there's a real difference in the player's brain about that, because like I even know, like from my perspective, I got traded from Hartford to New York, and I knew Rick Lee was the coach. He didn't think I could play. Like he didn't.
Like, that doesn't help.
No, it did, like in our discussions, he made it very clear. He thought I was a power play guy and I couldn't play 5-on-5. And maybe at that time I wasn't doing anything, because I think I was I think I had 2 goals when I got traded. But I went to the Islanders, and and actually this fits with Montreal's trade as I think about it. I went to the Islanders, and very shortly after, Pat LaFontaine got traded and Brent Sutter got traded. So I was that guy coming in that was going to be, okay, so I'll be here when these other moves that we didn't know anything about were already in motion, right? We got Pierre Turgeon back there, was our number 1 center. So the the trades have a lot of tentacles to it. In specifics to Kako, he's going to get a chance in Seattle with Jordan Eberle's out unfortunately, for a long time. And so Kako's going to get a chance to play. Maybe he will feel a lot less pressure because Seattle's not New York as far as people all over every move you make. And maybe that's a break for him. But for Seattle, they gave up an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year in Borgen and a third and a sixth. Like, I think that's a really good deal. I'm not so sure what the Rangers get. As they look around the league, you take the best deal you can get. But doesn't that kind of sets a bar for like these other players that may be moved where we look at their pedigree, which was as an 18-year-old. A lot of reality between draft day and today. And, I guess the Rangers got what they could get, but, that's it makes me think there's just more churn around that Ranger roster ahead.
Well, and you could say the same, obviously, the Buffalo Sabres, right? It's just, as they go into the freeze, I mean, not through lack of effort. Kevin Adams, admittedly, on the phone nonstop. But the definition of a top player in his mind is different than the general manager that he's talking to. So, teams are calling, they want his top players out of Buffalo. And he's willing to move a top player, but he needs top players back. And, the guys that are being offered don't quite meet that definition. So Lindy Ruff has been meeting with the core, which has been difficult to evaluate, I think, in fairness across the Sabres roster. So he met with his leaders, including on Thursday, and said that it's you guys. It's you guys I'm handing the puck to. You're the guys that have to be the difference makers. And he's talking about Rasmus Dahlin, who, as we record here on Friday, the expectation is he returns from injury against Toronto. Tage Thompson, Alex Tuck, Dylan Cousins, and Matthias Samuelsson. All right. I guess what I'm asking, you've probably been in this situation before as a player. How do you digest that direction expectation from your coach? Because I just feel like they would automatically internally know that and understand, of course we're the most experienced. We are the leaders. It's a big part of our job to pull this team out of the mud. So is that Lindy just trying to do whatever he can do to try and get this thing back on the rails?
I guess, yeah. I mean, like I'm with you. I don't know what changes with that meeting other than to make it extra clear. I mean, all of those guys you mentioned, I'm not sure of Tuck's status, but all the guys you mentioned have like 7 years left on their contract. Right. So you have to pull the bus because you're here. Right. And if we're going to make changes, it's not going to be to this group. Like all they're in a tough spot. Like if I'm another GM, I'm calling Kevin Adams for sure, and I'm not offering my grade A offer. I'm hoping that I get him where he's at the point where he says, you know what, I got to do something. And in looking back, like, when Kevin Adams was brought in, he'd never been in a management job at any level. And so, like, just think this must have been like drinking from a fire hose. Right? Like, it had to be. And so, like, you don't even know what you don't know because, well, how would you? You haven't even been in a front office yet. And so now that you've made a few trades, you made a couple of big trades. I saw somewhere a lineup of guys that have been traded out of Buffalo in the last half dozen years. Holy smokes, man!
Big names on that list.
It's an all-star team in some respects. And Sam Reinhart's gone and done what he's done. I mean, he's right at the top of the list. Ryan O'Reilly was there. Like, I know that goes back a little bit, but
I call him and go down the list.
Yeah, like it. And so some of those moves are Kevin, some of them aren't. But now, how do you rescue this thing? Like, how do you, like, if you go and dig into the core of that team again, 14 years becomes 20 pretty quick. Like, right? Like, if they need players, they don't need futures. They need players, and those are hard deals, hard deals to make. I would suspect. I know they are.
No, well, I mean, from an insider perspective, coming out of the freeze, Buffalo is going to be a top story as they continue to try and remedy everything that's gone on to this point of the season. Okay, a lot went on Thursday night across the National Hockey League, and we're not going to go through each game, but there were some interesting games. I mean, Zach Hyman with a goal and an assist at lead Edmonton over Boston. We talked about Zach and how he's really turned it up a notch. Brady Tkachuk scored in overtime. Ottawa topped Calgary. Vancouver had that battle. Pretty good hockey game in Vegas. They lose 3-1 to the Golden Knights. But all that being said, look, you play pro sport, major pro, football, obviously, to some degree, baseball, certainly basketball. There's a physical element to it where players always find a way to battle through. But what we've seen, particularly last night, but I guess I can go back the last several days with Tom Wilson playing with that big, I don't know what it was. It was like a grapefruit attached to the side of his head. But now you fast forward and I look at the apparatus that Hyman had on his nose going into that game. And then you had Brady Tkachuk post game after scoring the OT winner with he's lost teeth. He's got 9 stitches. Says to Kenzie Lalonde, "Ooh, geez, I got a face for radio." He does the interview post game. If that isn't a collection of faces that go on an NHL historical poster, I don't know, man. I mean, that's as tough as it gets, that collection of guys. And I'm skimming over it because there are others.
Well, there were it's funny when you get marked up like that, right? You go into the locker room, the doctors are there, they're all looking at you, they're evaluating. Brady would have had the dentist there and the doctor that's going to do the stitching. One guy looks at you, one guy looks at you. The only thing you're thinking in that point, you have an immediate response of whether you can go back in the game or not. And if you can, the only thing you can think of is hurry up.
Yeah.
I got to get back there. I got hit. This is a neutral zone face-off. I win the draw. Doug Lidster was dumping the puck in. It was with the Rangers. And I don't know what he was doing because I couldn't have moved too far, right? Just went straight back to the D. He slapped it, hit me in the head. It hit me and it sliced my ear wide open. So I go down, and I get up and I get to the locker room. And so they're like, yeah, we can get this stitched up. So I'm under they put this big towel kind of thing over your head, and I'm still in my gear and I'm sweating and it's hot. And I got this towel over my head and I can see a bunch of feet that are by the edge of the table. I'm like, who's here? What is going on? And now they can't freeze your ear. So it is by far the most painful place to get stitched that I've ever had.
Yeah.
And so the stitch, the needle goes in, they pull the thread through. You can feel the thread coming all the way through, and then they snug it, they tighten it off. And I hear this voice go, "Oh, good stitch, Bart." And so the dentist, Dr. Miller, I recognize his voice. I go, "Hey, Miller, is that you?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Get out of here. What the hell are you doing here?" I was so mad that the dentist was here. It was my ear. It was like a spectator sport. And it hurt like hell. And so they stitched me up and I got back in the game. But those guys, Brady loses his tooth and he's getting stitched up, and Hyman gets, his nose looks like a disaster. And all you can think about is, can I get back in? And then today, when Brady Tkachuk wakes up in Vancouver today, his head is going to feel like a Bugs Bunny cartoon that they've dropped an anvil on it. Like he's going to feel terrible. And then, oh yeah, I got a game tomorrow. So yeah, it can be a tough part of the game. That's for sure. I feel much better in the position I'm in now where,
No kidding.
that's not happening. Yeah.
Those are your headlines. Thank you to our good friends, Tim Hortons.
Time to make tonight's picks. Oh, he is definitely a winner. Good thing it's easy and free to play.
My streak is on the line here. Fingers crossed, because it all comes down to this. I just love getting the chance to win prizes every game day.
The Tim's NHL Hockey Challenge is back. Play on game day.
Our interviews on Ray and Dregs are brought to us by Canadian Club Classic, 18-year-old high proof. Invite your senses to an elevated Canadian whiskey experience with Canadian Club. All right, we're now joined on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast by Sheldon Keefe, the head coach of the New Jersey Devils. And Sheldon, we're going to spend more time talking about the season in general in New Jersey as opposed to the loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets. But I bring it up because there were some noteworthy events in that hockey game. I guess it starts with Elvis Merzlikins with a 40-save effort. And then you look at the combination of Luke and Jack Hughes setting a career record with 13 shots on net. I mean, that wasn't your standard ho-hum loss to any team in the NHL. I mean, this one had some fire to it.
Yeah, it did. I mean, there was no shortage of offense generated for us and opportunities. We couldn't get one to fall. Elvis played quite an outstanding game. Lots of what we thought were empty nets, and then all of a sudden he's flying around. So it's one of those games, but there's more to the story than that. Obviously we get down early, and we coughed up a couple, dug us a hole. We didn't give up a lot, but gave them a couple what I thought were freebies, and we just couldn't climb our way out of it. But I mean, the performance from Jack last night was something to watch. Quite honestly, it was impressive. He was dialed in and determined to the very end to help us win that game. We've been playing good hockey here of late, and as funny as it goes, last night in many ways might have been, for a lot of our guys, as good as we played in quite a while, and that's one that doesn't go our way.
Mentioning Jack, about the middle of November, he said that he and Jesper Bratt were about ready to pop. And since then, I mean, they've got just this incredible run. When a player thinks that, were you seeing that then too, that, hey, these two guys are about ready to get it going?
Yeah, I could see. You could definitely see the momentum building. I think both guys. I would say more so Jack. He's coming off shoulder surgery, and
right.
I think he only got into. I think he got into one preseason game for us. Just the way the schedule worked and the way things sort of shook out, and but his game I thought got better and better. I think he got a little more comfortable with with how we were playing and what I was asking him to do, and the defensive assignments and things that were expected. But offensively, I think for a guy who plays the game as cerebral as he does, I think it takes a little bit, and you can really see it coming. Him and Bratter have got wonderful chemistry. The game complements each other very well. I'm not surprised. Bratter's been pretty consistent all the way through the season, but Jack just seems to be finding new levels all the way through.
You so in Toronto, you have I'm going to leave Tavares out because I think he's different, but Matthews and Marner and Nylander, and then Jack in Jersey, and they're like these creative, I don't know, just different. They're different players than most. How do you? Is there a general way to coach them, or are they all different? Or is it different each guy because I don't know, they do things other people just don't see.
Yeah, no, I mean, each guy is unique in their own, with their personality and such, but the style of game, I think, you set standards or requirements or baselines, I guess, of what your expectations are defensively and managing the puck. And picking their spots and such, but you give them freedom and creativity, and you design some mechanisms, for them to utilize their strengths. I think that's what you do, and you try to put them in good spots offensively to succeed. That's really it. And then you push and challenge them, and you have back and forth, and we've had some of that here between Jack and I, and it's been really, really good. He's really smart, sees the game very well, and is a very determined guy to drive our team. So that is very similar to what I was working with in Toronto there for sure.
Sure. And Sheldon, you've talked about this before, but it seemed likely when you were let go in Toronto that you're going to take some time, right? I mean, it's a grind being an NHL head coach, but it's an incredible grind being an NHL head coach in a strong Canadian market like Toronto. You're going to take some time, kind of recharge, be with your family. What changed your mind? Was it just how good the opportunity was in New Jersey?
Well, I'm going to jump in there. Sorry, Sheldon. Your video when you were in front of the lake at your cottage, I'm like, damn, that guy looks relaxed.
So good.
You look so good. I'm like, we're going to see him in a couple of years.
Yeah, you know what? I got a lot specific on the video. I got a lot of comments on that, and everybody was convinced I was at the cottage. That's Lake Ontario, right? That's in Oakville, about a 2-minute walk from my house. So that was the spot I went quite a bit.
Awesome.
Quite a bit to collect my thoughts over the years, but yeah, I mean, you don't know what you're gonna expect, right? I was in a situation. I had 2 years remaining. In fact, I had a contract extension with police that hadn't even begun yet. So you have that sort of comfort, and then you have been through a grind over the last bit, and not just because of Toronto, not just because of the market, but also it's your first time in the NHL as a coach. And you're sort of, I mean, we went through everything, basically the beginning of my career in the NHL is, through COVID, in fact, it wasn't really until basically my third season, because I was hired midway through one season, and then that season's canceled, and then we hit the bubble, and then you got the Canadian division year. It wasn't really until my third season I actually had a training camp. So it was our traditional training camp at least, but it was it went through a lot through all of that, of course, and then you got 2 years you're sitting there, and this is a very demanding job, and you got a chance to spend some time with your family and sort of pay it back, because it does, you miss a lot, and you're not around for a lot, so there's that. And then just professionally I thought, I could grow a lot, and that was sort of on my mind, and you're kind of preparing for that. You had a pretty good sense of what might be coming in Toronto if we were unable to get the success that we expected to have there. So that was on my mind for sure. But I got a call from Fitzy. I mean, this is the chain of events. I was in the office and met with Brad Treliving and Brendan Shanahan, and they gave me the news, and then I got in my car and I drove to the lake and recorded a video, and then I went home and actually my wife and kids ended up walking down to the lake and hanging out with me, and we had a little moment as a family there. But then we took the kids back to school, and because my wife pulled them out of school, but knowing that the news was coming, but they felt pretty good and went back, and wife and I went to lunch, and I got a call from Tree telling me they expect a call from New Jersey. So it was all pretty quick. And then not long after that, I got a call from Fitz, and we chatted, and I didn't know what to think of it, quite honestly, because like I said, I was more thinking about taking some time, if nothing else, to at least let process things. But New Jersey was well down the road and trying to find a new coach, and Fitz, I think, was being patient and wanting to see what was going to happen at the end of the first round. And we spoke a little bit, and he gave me some time, and then it was really just say, think about it, and if you want to talk a little bit more, let me know. So we gave it a few days, and I said, let's talk a little bit more. So then we talked a little bit more, and then it was, hey, do you want to come down and visit? And my wife and I went to New Jersey and spent a couple days and toured around and met some people, and it just really felt at that point that not only was it a great opportunity because Fitz was a great fit, he felt very strongly about me, which was very reassuring, But then you just look at the opportunity here, the players, the talent level, the ownership, I was able to go to lunch with David Blitzer, his wife Allison. It was terrific, and you see their passion and vision for the team. And then you just sort of, as more time passed, because I still was not quite certain what to do, then there's the opportunity, and it's just, you know what, you're a hockey coach and you're a hockey guy, and this is a tremendous opportunity. It's a privilege to be in the NHL, so get to work.
I'm thinking in all of that condensed timeline, we often have a coach on that was let go somewhere, took a year or so, and you mentioned processed and tried to look back at what happened and what could be maybe going forward. Did you have any chance to even really do that and go, look, okay, I like this from the Toronto years. I didn't like this. I liked what I did here. I didn't like what I did there. Like, were you able to kind of, I don't know, it seemed to me that's part of the process of now your new job.
Yeah.
Were you able to do that, or is like just running downhill?
I mean, I like to think that I've always been one that's introspective and learning in every off season and even during the season, quite honestly, that, you spend a lot of time in your own head and in your thoughts and you're processing things and you're taking notes. I got a long list of notes on, whether it's my phone or my iPad, and jotting things down that that are more off season type notes, but you're tracking them and writing them down during the season. So you're always kind of reflecting. So I feel like I've always done that, but certainly, coming out of that opportunity, going into the next one, you think a little bit deeper. Okay, now you're going to get a restart here. I'm going to go into an organization, or I'm now in an organization where I knew zero people, including Tom Fitzgerald himself. I met him for the first time in this process. Very unique to me. None of the players I had any established relationships or connections with or coached at in any level. So, all of these things were going to be very new for me, and going to have a tremendous opportunity to establish something and grow something. It's a team that, had missed the playoffs, great potential, but had missed the playoffs the year before, and really it's only been in the playoffs twice in the last 12 years here. So, you've got some work to do. But you're going to have a captive audience, and the discussions with the players were, a lot of excitement, and the guys, being very honest about where they're at and where, the work they need to do to get to where we need to be. So to answer your question, I think I did have time to process it. And I do think I've always been introspective and learning and growing, because as much as, I was given a tremendous opportunity to coach the Maple Leafs, a team with such high expectations and great history and great fan base and all of these things. It still is and was my first NHL job, and I believe fully that with each year I was getting better and better as a coach, and when I had a sense that maybe this would be my last year in Toronto if we didn't find a way to get through in the playoffs. I felt very strongly that wherever I go next, I'm going to be a far better coach than the version that I was in Toronto. And that's just through experience. So with all that said, I felt very confident with the lessons learned and the experience that I have that, I was able to come to New Jersey and look to build something here.
What do you know about New Jersey now that you didn't know when you just used to fly in, play the game, and get the hell out of there?
Well, it's, like a lot of people, I'm sure, I love New York City. I love Manhattan and the access to that. So that's part for sure what you think of. And in fact, where I'm living here now, we played the Rangers a couple weeks ago, and I was door to door to MSG in 20 minutes. And
It's crazy.
15 minutes post game actually on the way back. So incredible access to the city. First is that, and that's what you think about, when you come here. But just great people, great passionate fan base. Our players love living here, whether it's like I just talked about, and the access to close to our practice and game arena, which is in the same facility, which is another luxury. But also the access to Manhattan, the city, and everything that comes with that, but just tremendous communities around too. Like, the players that have families and live in the suburbs, they love it. There's a number of great alumni that called New Jersey home after retirement. There's just a lot of really great things here. Incredible ownership. So those are the things that I would say. I've really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, we'll keep you for a couple more minutes here. Sheldon Keefe joining us from the New Jersey Devils. I can't get through a podcast without, of course, bringing up history here, right? And automatically, when I think Sheldon Keefe and Ray Ferraro on the same podcast, I go back to that infamous fight. What was it?
Yeah.
The house, was it 01, 02?
I don't know. I
mean,
old.
Ray talks about it all the time.
I was old. I felt ambushed by a younger human.
This is not true. This is totally not true. I think we talked about this at one time, and what people wouldn't know, and it's probably the best part of the story is you might have to patch in a fourth person here, because Mike Johnson is connected to this story.
Yes.
Because the way that I remember this story is that Johnny ran over Ray right at our bench. And I think Ray was fishing for a puck in his feet, and like a battle. And Mike came from the far side of the ice all the way across to the bench and ran over Ray. And then line changed because he's right at the bench. He was coming over to change, so he changed. I'm a right winger, just like Johnny was, and I hop on the ice. I think Ray picked himself up off the ice and saw me skating away and figured it must have been me. He came right at me, and I was like, "Well, okay, I'm."
What a terrible decision by me.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Decision.
It's two welterweights trying to figure it out up there, but it was fun. My kids actually. That's one of the very few moments or few things that kids can find on me on YouTube of my playing days. They get a kick out of that.
Wasn't it like Johnny though? In and out, never got his hands dirty, and he was off to the next thing.
Yeah, so that is exactly how I remember it, though. Because you kind of jumped me, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" And then I went back and watched it all, and then Johnny, and then was drinking water, laughing.
That's pretty good. Hey, by the way, if you get to the Christmas party, speaking of playing, and you guys are out there at the Christmas party, and I don't know if Fitzy will be out there, challenge him to a stick handling contest. You'll beat him for sure. Fitzy could shoot it off the glass as well as anybody. That was his go-to play.
All right. I'll make sure to tell him about that. But Fitzy's been great. I've really enjoyed working with him, and he's got a lot of good things happening here, and we're having fun with it.
So you have the Penguins and the Rangers before the break. As we let you go here, Sheldon, quiet Christmas for you and your family?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be quiet, but it's going to be fun. Actually, we made the decision. So my family's still living in Toronto. So okay. I'm here, and that again was one of the appeals of taking this position, because we had felt pretty strongly as a family, meaning my wife and I, that in my next job, that with our kids are 12 and 14 and well entrenched there. We were fortunate to spend 9 years in Toronto between the Leafs and Marlies. So we had made the decision that wherever I would go next, I would go, and they would stay behind there. So the access and how close it is here, it's so between the three major airports and the accessibility to Toronto. I've been back to Toronto a bunch on some of our off days to visit, and they've been here. So anyway, I'll say all that. We decided that we're going to have Christmas out here, and they're going to come and they get both kids. Fortunately, have a good break in hockey as well. So no hockey through the Christmas break, and school is off, of course. So they're going to come and spend time here, catch a couple games, hang out, and we're going to spend lots of time in the city and spend a New York / New Jersey Christmas and do something a little different.
Excellent. Well, it's been a real good season so far for you and for the New Jersey Devils. So keep that going, and all the best to you and your family through the holidays.
Appreciate it, guys.
Have a great Christmas, Sheldon. Thanks.
Right. Yeah, same to you guys. Be well.
All right, Ray. Good on Sheldon, right? Like, as he describes, like, no coach really wants to do an interview. I mean, they do the post game because it's obligatory. But for him to have to get up early this morning on Friday, as we record, coming off a loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I watched a good part of that game, and he described it well. I mean, didn't love their start. They're down 3-0. but I mean, they threw everything they had at Merzlikins and couldn't beat him. So, he was in good spirits doing the interview, but you also get, and we get this from time to time from coaches and managers, there's almost a feel, at least I feel, an inner peace that you're getting now from Sheldon. And maybe that's the experience of everything that he's been through, and the fact that maybe you need to get fired. Maybe you need to get fired your first time getting chopped as an NHL head coach to recognize, okay, I'm going to do some things differently, but it's a job. It's my passion. It's what I want to do. And I'm going to learn from the past, but I'm going to keep the past behind me.
Yeah. I also think the relentlessness that the coaches have to be on is so much more difficult in some places than others. And I can see where they're like, oh my God, I just talked to these 8 guys, 12 guys, 16 guys, whatever it is, 4 hours ago. And now I got to talk to them again. And then tomorrow morning, I got to talk to them again.
Yeah.
Right? Like the relentlessness of that must just wear you down, because in the middle of that, you have 3 hours of stress that the game's going on, right? Like there's no real release valve for them. And so one of the things I would say for, like, you live in Toronto, you cover the Leafs. You don't see Sheldon every day now.
No.
Right? And he doesn't have to look at you every day now. And so there's got to be some of that just goes just a little bit easier. The other part, as I thought, and I'd forgotten, hired, season got shut down. Next year's the bubble. Then it's the Canadian division. It's 3 years before he runs a traditional camp. Like nothing was ordinary for him. And now I'm sure he walks in, like he sees a game like last night. Jack Hughes gets 13 shots, not 13 attempts, 13 shots. And he sees it and he goes, yeah, we probably could have won that game. And then you move on to the next one instead of stewing in it.
Yeah.
Like you might have a couple of years ago. There's no question. Guys get better as they move along. Like Rick Bowness just retired. Do you think he was a better coach in the last 10 years of his career or when he started in Ottawa?
Yeah.
Like, come on, right? Like, of course you gain experience and you pull it in and you throw some stuff out. And I don't know. I talked to him before a game in Florida this year, and I had the same impression you did, Dregs. Like just at ease. And they got a good team, and they're in a good spot coming into the Christmas break.
Yeah, and I mean, I loved how he meticulously walked us through he and his family's decision-making process, right? And how he went from, getting let go by the Maple Leafs to a call from Brad Treliving to, all right, now I'm talking to Tom Fitzgerald. Now I'm talking to my family. Now I'm going to New Jersey. I mean, that ball rolled pretty quickly, and he walked us through step by step.
Yeah, it was, like I said, I thought it was at the cottage, but he was at Lake Ontario, and I thought, like, that's the last we're going to see of him in a while. And then, poof, head coach in Jersey. And so
that's awesome.
Clearly the fire was still there. Like, it didn't need to take – some guys you can see they need to step back. Like,
right, yeah.
I just thought of – remember when John Tortorella got fired with the Rangers? And almost immediately he signed in Vancouver, and that didn't go very well. That 1 year didn't go very well. No. He needed, I'm sure if he looked back, he would say, I needed time there just to decompress. And
that's a good point.
Two very different spots. And Sheldon doesn't look like he's any worse for the wear. He looks like he's, refreshed and happy and, plugging away through a long year, which we're quickly coming up to the halfway point.
Well, thank you to Sheldon Keefe, and thank you to the New Jersey Devils as he joined us today on the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast. And you, my friend, as we go into the holiday season, you've got some exciting travel plans, correct?
Yeah. I got tomorrow night, Saturday, we got my last game's Ottawa at Vancouver. Ottawa's on a 5-game winning streak, and then on Sunday afternoon we fly to London, and we're going to be in London on the 23rd, 4th, and half of the Christmas Day, and then we're going to go to Liverpool, and we're going to get to watch a game at Anfield. And my boys are both soccer players, and they're both really excited. And do you know what I did learn? You cannot wear a kit, like a supporter's jersey, a team jersey, in the seats we're in. You're just not allowed to in the stadium.
Yeah, because you'd be in enemy territory and probably
No.
pummeled.
We're gonna be at the home field. You can't. Anfield's at Liverpool's home stadium. You just can't.
They don't want that
know
televised, or why? I wonder.
I don't know. I'll ask somebody over there, but I do know this: if you've ever seen in European football, when the road team brings their fans, their supporters come, they have them in one section. You can't sit around the stadium. Oh yeah, they're in a box, and they're like, you guys enjoy the game, sit over here, and that's pretty much it. The other thing that's really cool, you get the tickets emailed to you, and you have to put your name as you buy your ticket, and so on the ticket it says supporter's name, and then it says Reese Ferraro, Riley Ferraro. It's I just like it just says supporter's name, and I'm like, they're making it pretty clear you're a supporter, all right. And so we're really excited to go.
For whatever reason, my brain just goes to Cammie almost holding your hand, dragging you into this stadium through a sea of humanity, and the look on your face as you make your way through all of that. That's what comes to mind for me.
She's what. I actually see this. I think I can get through, Dregs.
Okay.
But I've talking to my brother-in-law yesterday, and he's like, "So you're ready to go to the trip?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm sure you did a lot of the planning for it." And I'm like, "Of course I didn't." Like,
you're right.
I don't know. I booked the plane tickets. I can do that, right? I'm okay with that. But past that, I'm like,
well, it's going to be a great
shaky
trip. I mean, it's going to be a lifetime of memories built into that one.
You got everybody at home for Christmas, of course, and
shortly. Yeah, Katie will arrive on what's today, Friday, Saturday, and she's actually here for an extended period, which is bizarre. I thought young lawyers actually had to work almost 24/7, but I mean, they're almost like government people, right? I mean, as soon as the holidays come around, boop, we're out, 5:00. See you in 10 days or whatever it is. So,
good for her. Good for her.
Yeah. And then other than that,
I hope you guys get a great Christmas there. And we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna be off next week for sure. I'm not sure if you're gonna bang one out here. And if you, we'll talk shortly after that. And everyone, thanks for listening this year. This has been it's been a lot of fun for us, and lots of great guests, lots of great stories, and all the best through the holidays to everybody. Hope you're safe and healthy, and everybody gets together with the people they love.
Excellent. Well put, Ray. And thank you to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs and make this podcast possible. Our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey, our good pals at Tim Hortons, and as always, thank you to Acon. Enjoy your holiday season, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.